Hello everyone, and welcome to Crossroads, the strangest map that I've ever played. Now this map is actually relatively simple. I don't think a tutorial needs to be made out of this, but I think it's strange enough that, let's do something for us to talk about it. And even though it's simple, it's also quite fun and also a nice breather after having gone through, well, 3 insane maps in a row. And by insane, I mean insanely difficult, because that took a lot of strategy and a lot of time for me to, well, think and come up with a strategy so that I can make the video for you guys, especially in the previous video, which was Siege, if I'm not wrong. But either way, this is the base that we start off with. And well, first thing you might notice, we don't have enough power. So for some reason they gave us some slag and some archetypes generators already. So we're going to use that to build a pyrolysis generator, because that's clearly what they wanted us to do. Now, here's the thing about this map. The challenge about this map is not really about the enemies. The enemies are relatively easy to deal with if you already build up your resources and well, get a relatively strong defense. No, the biggest problem with this map is space. You don't have a lot of space to build. You need to build quite a lot of defenses, because there are a lot of ground units for you to deal with. As for air units, not so much, but relatively speaking, there's quite a few. Although you don't need to build air specific defenses, but either way, you won't have enough space to, well, build all the things that you need. So you need to make it as compact as possible. Although and that's something that I did realize when I first started playing this map. However, I realized that I made it way too compact, especially on the left hand side of the map where the pyrolysis generator sits. And this caused some problems, especially when I tried to route my resources. And then I realized that the right hand side of the map, we didn't really use it for much, so that was a bit of a waste of space. So ideally, if you can place whatever you can on the right hand side of the map, just place it on the right hand side of the map. Like the pyrolysis generators, they should have been placed on the right hand side of the map, because well, we got quite a lot of space on the right hand side, and it's just big enough for two of these fellas to go on the right hand side. That will actually solve a lot of our routing / conveyor belt problems that we are going to face later on. So anyway, this map have a lot of shields, and when the shields are up, you are unable to attack, well, anything. So you need to find where the shields are coming from. And well, it's very simple. It's at the bottom of the map, really. There's a shield generator, sort of, that shields every incoming projectile, which is relatively annoying. So you want to get to that first. But before that, there's also a base nearby that has a core, and that core is surrounded by walls. So that means that for this map, you want to rely entirely on air defenses, or rather air offenses. Why? Because air offenses, or rather air troops, are the only way you are going to ever reach the core that's, well, surrounded by these walls. Mech units may work, I don't know, I haven't tried it out, but I think air units are way better. Not to mention that since they have greater mobility and some of the weaker ground troops can't target them, it makes for a way better offense and defense as well, just in case, you know. So of course we're going to build our tier 2 air units as well later on, and upgrade them tier 3. And interestingly, we also have sort of tier 4 air units, but not really. We'll get back to that near the end of the video. But for now, we want to increase our output of everything as per usual. So first up, resources. We need to go ahead and build ourselves a silicon factory. Now thankfully we already have enough beryllium, or rather we have enough beryllium juice. I mean, it's not enough beryllium, but it's good enough that we won't die. So we don't need to upgrade our beryllium resources. What we do need to be concerned about is sand production, because we don't have, or rather we don't really have enough space to utilize or rather maximize the amount of sand production that we could get. So you do need to plan for that carefully. I wasn't entirely sure where to find them. There is definitely some better places where you could build more cliff crushers that would be more efficient, but I couldn't find any. So this will have to do. I mean, it's not that bad either way. So before you want to get your tier 2 defenses, you just want to produce maybe 1 or 2 tier 1 air units so that you can go ahead and explore the surrounding area, allow you to unlock more air vents and to, well, build your defenses across the line like this. And yeah, honestly that's just going to be our defenses for like the entirety of this game. It's just 8 green turrets. What else do you need? It's cheap, it's simple, and that's it. And since we have a lot of tungsten, we might as well put it to use and well, use this defense, since this defense does accept tungsten as an input. Now you might notice that there's also a mini base, not really a base, there's no enemy turrets in there, but there's also a mini area that's surrounded by walls on the top, and that is where you're going to get your thorium from. So just build a conveyor belt, get your thorium, just get out there. The enemies are not going to attack the areas, so you don't have to worry about it. Although you might want to patrol 1 or 2 air units just in case, but you don't need to. So now let's go on the offense. For the enclosed base, you just need to maximize the number of tier 2 units, aka 15, and then honestly just go straight for the core. You knock off all the defenses as per usual, and then go ahead and build yourself a second core, because that doubles the total amount of units they could get to 30. So yeah, actually useful. And once you knock down the core, you will notice that it's going to get rebuilt over time. So just place 1 or 2. You definitely have to place 1 or 2 tier 2 units, or maybe even 1 tier 3 units on the right hand side of the enclosed base to prevent it from being rebuilt. But anyway, now it's time for us to go ahead and upgrade our defenses. So by upgrading our defenses, I mean just getting some repair towers, because that's all we really need, just repair towers. The defenses will hold itself just fine, and if you have enough units, well, you can also get them to go line up against the walls so that they could aid in your defenses. And I should have built 2 layers of walls rather than 1. 1 layer makes it relatively easy for the enemies to get past. So yeah, this is just something that you want to keep in mind when you build your base. And keep in mind, even though this is technically the only defense that we need to get, there will be times when the enemies, well, they'll just bypass your defenses because it's not that strong, let's be honest. So you definitely want to keep an eye out of them, or you also want to, like I said earlier, place down some units nearby to help guard this area, and then build a unit repair tower as per usual. Now of course, once you get enough tier 3 units, you can go ahead and, well, just go for get rid of the rest of the bases, except the top left base, because the top left base is the most difficult of them all. But of course, first you have to get rid of the bottom right base, because the bottom right base is where the shield is. So once you get rid of that, you can go ahead get rid of the rest of the bases. Now the problem with this map, or rather maybe a bug in this map, is that there'll be a lot of land units that's trapped on, well, this mini base that's on the bottom left hand side of the map. So you want to snipe them 1 by 1, but don't go for an all out against them, because they are huge in numbers. They can easily eliminate all of your troops. So whenever a single air unit is close to dying, just send all of them back to the repair zone, repair them, and then come back and then snipe them off. Ideally, you do not want them to go across the wall, so try not to break any walls. Understandably, that is relatively difficult, but yeah, if you can, avoid doing so at all costs. Now, how are we going to deal with the top right hand side of the base? Now, here's the thing, we can build tier 4 units, surprisingly. Yeah, so how it works, and I had to guess, and turns out my guess was correct. You have to place, well, tier 1 factories right next to the sort of tier 4 output, and by placing the tier 1 units, you want the tier 4 units to receive the inputs directly from the tier 1 units, right? It can be placed anywhere except for the front, and the front of the base has to be empty. There cannot be any units, no buildings, although pipelines, conveyor belts, they're okay. And yeah, that seems reasonable, so we just let it. You can also build, if you want to, you don't have to, you know, build your pipelines around it. Just build your pipelines through the square that is plotted for you. And yeah, this takes a lot of time for you to build. And you need Nanogen. Nanogen is the last resource that you will ever see on Erikir, or rather the last air resource that you ever see. So Nanogen won't be produced in massive quantities, so ideally you want to place 3 stack heaters right next to the, well, generator itself, and that will maximize its output to 400% output, which is more than enough to power the tier 4 unit factory, because you need to maintain a constant 300% Nanogen output for you to build the tier 4 units. And also I'm not entirely sure why Nanogen is needed for tier 4 units. Doesn't make sense, but oh well, that's the rules of this game. But anyway, you will notice that you won't have enough places for you to place down more like factories unless you build your resources for the down, or rather build your defenses for the down, which is not recommended, but I didn't do that anyway, so yeah. If you build your defenses a little further down, then yeah, you could have gotten a little bit more slack for you to power both the nitrogen and the Nanogen generators. But since we don't have the power supply to the nitrogen generators, and it doesn't really matter anyway, because the tier 4 units are way stronger than the tier 3. So yeah, we don't really need that many tier 3. We can let the production of tier 3 units slow down, and primarily we want to get as many tier 4 units as we can before we go for an all-out on the final base. Now of course you don't need that many units, but like I said in the previous videos, more units means higher chance of success, so of course we're going to go ahead and build more units. And once you're done with that, the remainder of the game is just basically sitting and waiting for the units to be produced, and be patient, because you have to defend at the same time. So just get your defenses to line up against the border wall that you created, and yeah, that's about it. Once you have enough units, you can go for an all-out against the top left-hand side base. And yeah, like I said, this map is relatively simple. There really isn't any deep strategy that requires you to think a lot like the previous maps. So treat this as a chill map for you to sort of just relax and have fun, which is something that I've longed for, or rather I wish I had back in Mindustry. And well, this map sort of suits that criteria. So yeah, even though it's considered a hard map, it's relatively simple, it's relatively chill in terms of the amount of effort and thoughts that we need to put into defending and maintaining the base. So yeah, it's a chill map and it's quite fun. Is it more fun than the previous map? Maybe, maybe not. At least it's not that tiresome, but well, that's the map for you. Relatively fun. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like if you like this video, leave a comment if you have anything else to add, and I'll see you guys in the next video.